Emails from Afar, a chef's culinary adventure around the world. By Mike Sanders.
Chapter 22. The First 24 Hours of India. 1:23. Day 69. The day started with a 2 a.m. wake-up call so we could catch our flight to Chennai. But, because of the malaria pills, all I got last night was 4 hours of heavy sweats and psycho nightmares. When I woke up, I was drenched in sweat and truly terrified for the first few disorienting seconds. The dreams are getting worse and worse. I am not digging the pills. Our flight to Chennai was a short 4 hours, though once at the terminal, it was close to an hour before our baggage arrived or on the carousel. When it did finally show up, it smelled like it had made the journey not just on a dead mule, but in a dead mule. I don't know what was going on in the cargo hold of that plane, but whatever it was, marinating our backpack in it for 4 hours was not a good thing. With our nasty bags gathered up, we headed outside to see what awaited us. When we approached the exit, we saw a little line in front of a foreign currency exchange counter. We had a few hundred baht and $10 US on us, so we got in line and waited. And waited. And waited. And waited. After an hour in line, we hadn't moved a single inch. Both of us were trying to keep our cool, but we were getting quite frustrated. Sarah made the observation that the only people in line were foreigners. White people, Asian people, a couple of black guys, etc. All the Indians would just walk right up and just elbow their way up into the window, then jam their money-stuffed hands through the hole in the glass. After watching this for a while, a light went off in my head. Oh, so that's how it works. Looking at each other, we instinctively knew what had to be done. Sarah cracked a small coy smile at me and nudged her head. Her eyes gave me the distinct impression I had been elected for the job. It was so rude. How could I? We don't do that in America. Sarah took my hand, leaned in and whispered, "Do what you have to do." India lesson number 1. Do not wait in line. Elbow your way to the front of the crowd. If you have a height or weight advantage, use it. It was easy to get a cab to our hotel, the New Victoria. The ride through Chennai was incredible. The radio in the cab played some modern Indian dance mix, which was the perfect soundtrack for what was going on outside the windows. The manic hustle of the city blended with the chaos of the music. It was hard for my senses to take. The visual bombardment of colors, billboards, roaming cows, people everywhere, old-world oxen carts, strange languages, and foreign faces. The audio bombardment with the horns, music, engines, drivers yelling at each other in traffic, ringer bells, and the old-fashioned ooga horns of the auto rickshaws. There was the olfactory bombardment of the fabulous food, trash, car exhaust, and sandalwood incense. Every sense in my body was being thoroughly overstimulated with every nerve firing wildly. I was vibrating in my skin. We turned down the narrow street, overrun with people and street vendors. Small children would sporadically thrust their hands through the window, holding an orange for sale or just begging outright for some rupees. I was beginning to think that the reason the hotel reservation guy at the airport took so long finding something in our price range was that there was nothing in our price range but dives and dumps. Apparently, something in this area is all he could find. The view rolling past the taxi window looked slummier and slummier, with trash strewn about and low-hanging wires around every corner. Colorful Bollywood film posters, half torn or missing, were oversprayed with writing in red paint. Turning into what I thought was an out-of-place office building, I suddenly realized it was our hotel. Clad in jet black stone, the gold New Victoria Hotel sign gleamed in the sun. It totally towered above the surrounding neighborhood. The highly polished surface was reflecting the brutal sun back onto the street, making the heat of the day all that much more unbearable. As we pulled under the giant black awning, I was prepared to lock myself in the room for a long spell. While we were checking in, Sarah asked if they had a computer we could use. The manager, Sairam, graciously offered the computer in his office. Within minutes, you'd think they'd been friends for years. They were showing each other their currency collections and trading bills back and forth. Sarah received some bills from Pakistan, Nepal, and Somaliland, in exchange for some leftover kip from Laos. Once you're out of Laos, kip is worthless. No country will take it in exchange. We have $20 worth and have been trying to get rid of it since we left. By 1:30, we were all talking about lunch, to which Sairam asked if we would like to join him. We both thought that was a great idea. He called up two of his co-workers, Ganesh and Sinu, and told them to meet them out front with the minivan. For some reason, Sairam wanted to take us to a Chinese restaurant, which I found a little strange, but whatever. Sarah and I quickly ran upstairs to drop off our bags, which was a great relief. They're getting to be quite bothersome and sometimes a real inconvenience, and feel heavier every time I pick them up. The food was exquisite. It was not American Chinese food, but Indian Chinese food. The same style of dishes we know, but with Indian spices and an interpretation. For example, beef and broccoli. It's the standard dish at any Chinese restaurant around America. What I had was the same dish, but with a sweet fruitiness about it. The crab puffs were the same, except the wonton skins were vivid yellow from the addition of turmeric into the dough. It was little things like that which made the meal special. Over great conversation, we ate ourselves sick. It was fantastic. On the way back to the hotel, the five of us decided to go to lunch again tomorrow. Sinu wants us to go have pizza. Indian pizza. I can't wait. After a very short nap in the middle of the afternoon, we woke up surprisingly hungry. Again, my sleep was broken by vivid dreams and heavy sweating. Following a steaming hot shower to help wake me up, we headed downstairs to a little cafe here in the hotel. About halfway through my plate of tandoori chicken, Sairam joined us. He offered to reserve us a table at a dance club he manages called Speed. I didn't really want to leave the hotel, but I could see that it would have been rude to refuse him. After all, he had bought us lunch and was now extending himself again. We agreed on the condition that we would pay for lunch tomorrow. I could see that ruffled his feathers a bit. I don't think he wanted us thinking that we were obligated to do as such, but being the manager of a hotel, he's become accustomed to keeping a good poker face when presented with unpleasant situations. Under this umbrella of feelings, he accepted our offer with a heavy, hearty smile. "Ah, you Americans," he said in his deep Indian accent. "You always have to have things fair. Very well then, tomorrow it is." With that, he got up, gave us a broad smile, and strode off through the door. Did he just say Americans always have to have things fair? I think I'm going to have to set that fellow straight. Speed, a high-octane pub, is an auto-racing themed bar. At the door, we were told who we were and that Sairam had sent us. We were quickly whisked in and ushered to our reserved table. The decor on the walls included framed racing suits, signed posters, checkered flags hanging off of everything, giant screen TVs showing live races, and on the left wall hung a full-size Formula One or Indy car. The music was as loud as the neon was bright, piercing and impossible to get away from. We quickly drank our Kingfisher beers so we could get the hell out of there. Right as we were leaving, paying at the overstocked bar to be specific, three well-dressed men in their early 20s approached us and asked us to have a tequila shot with them. We respectfully declined, explaining that we had started the day 18 hours ago in Bangkok, and though we had had a 3-hour nap, we were quite tired. But just with Sairam, they were quite persistent and wouldn't take no for an answer. Not wanting to be rude, we reluctantly acquiesced. Well, one shot led to two, and two to three. They were quite interested in the fact that we were Americans. They wanted to know everything about America, its culture, and what it's, quote, really like. As the conversation progressed, the subject of sex came up. They were quite eager to let us know that they were all virgins by choice. John, a 25-year-old Christian, was proud of the fact that he went to church to, quote, hunt for chicks, as he put it. Joe, a Hindu, was quiet and a bit shy. The tequila helped loosen him up a bit, but he was still fairly reserved in his interaction. He liked to go to clubs to find girls, he told us. Ayapon, Joe's friend, motioned towards a table where 4 young, beautiful women sat, all dressed up and looking their best in a mix of traditional and Western clothes. Pointing at one of them, he said that was the kind of girl he was looking for. I told him to go over and introduce himself to see what would happen. He bashfully shook his head and mumbled something into his chest. Of course, me, being who I am, especially after a few shots and no sleep, told them that it was easy. Watch. I spun on my heel and headed right over to the table. As I approached, I could see a mixed reception building in the girls' eyes. I introduced myself, told them who I was and where I was from, what I did for a living, and how I came to be in Speed this evening. By the end of my little 4-minute speech, they were all smiling, some of them more interested than others, but generally well received. One even asked me to join them for a minute, to which one of the other girls looked completely shocked. I thanked them for their invitation, but had to respectfully decline and bid them all a good evening. As I returned, John looked amazed. "You Americans, you are so bold," he exclaimed, his tone dripping with envy and wonder. I told him that I wasn't bold. I was just a guy from halfway around the world who woke up in Bangkok off of 3 hours of shitty sleep 20 hours ago, and now has had 4 shots of tequila put into him. I'm not bold. I just don't give a shit if I look stupid in front of anybody. Exhaustion will do that to you. By 2 a.m., we were back in the hotel, marveling at the long day. Everyone here is so friendly. Deep, hearty smiles greet us at every turn. Good God, what a long day. But I think I'm going to like India.